Ms. Siegel, book challenge.
And I do promise this will be shorter. This is the workshop for a proposed change to a policy. The policy we're talking about is one that we just revised in February. And it involved how we would have hearings on book challenges. A little background. This year we've had 40 different book challenges over the year, not all by the same person, by a wide variety of people. But we've only had 6 of them that went to a hearing. The first hearing we had was in December, and then we've had 5 more, with the last one being the 30th of April. The policy that you all approved in February permitted witnesses to be called and cross-examined. As it got to the point of the hearings, and all the hearings were the same parent, the parent never called witnesses that supported her position, but called people from our district who we agreed could come in. But the problem that happened was, at some point, there was a disagreement in terms of interpretation of the standards for book selection. The objector had a different interpretation than our media specialists. And during the questioning, which was very aggressive, it was elicited that there was a disagreement, and our folks were accused of breaking the law publicly. And there was a lot of upset about those words being used to describe our media specialist. Then you all are aware of the problem that occurred with the with the examination of Garrett Jones at Terwilliger, where it was made, a series of questions were asked in such a manner to make it appear that he approved of 8-year-old children reading books about pornography and dirty magazines, and that was not the case. We were able to get that calmed down. But because of that, and because of a concern, Mr. Jones had threats made, even death threats. I went to the superintendent and I said, and we found that we do have a policy on threats to our employees. And as far as I'm concerned, and I talked to the superintendent and he agreed, threats and harassment of our employees is far more important than being able to call witnesses. And I will tell you what else. The statute that we're going under, I'm going to get a little bit in the weeds, legal weeds, only requires that we let them proffer evidence. And as a trial lawyer, you only proffer when the judge says, okay, proffer the evidence, and I say, this is what I think the evidence will show, but I don't have to call a witness or I don't have to provide the evidence. A proffer is merely, this is what the evidence will be. So it does not require witnesses. So we're going to recommend that we do away with witnesses altogether. I will tell you the only witness called by this parent the whole time, one time, was a witness that came on and attacked the procedure and attacked us for being too aggressive and belligerent and threatening to parents. So that's, you've seen in the materials we provided, our proposal is just to eliminate witnesses altogether. I do have an auxiliary thing, and we will be putting this on for first reading under rulemaking, I believe at the next school board meeting. Then we will have 2 weeks later a public hearing at a school board meeting, and then finally the second reading where this will become the standard. We wanted to get it done this year so that next year we would start with this new rule in place. But the other thing I've been asked a number of questions about, and I would like to get the sense of the board. We have been videotaping the hearings. Once the issue happened with Mr. Jones, we didn't, at the time that happened, the videotape of that hearing was not published on our YouTube site. But we subsequently started doing that. But the problem was, once we had the situation with Mr. Jones, we decided perhaps it wasn't best to have it on a fully accessible site all the time, have it available as a public records request. But I wanted it available for you all because I thought many of you asked me if you could see the hearing, and I thought that would be good. So I have no problem keeping that going. I will tell you We did stop posting it online to avoid some of the problems we've had, but still with the hearings, I have now had comments posted about me online based on a comment I made about the bouquet is for activists accusing me of being communist. Now, I've got broad shoulders and that doesn't bother me, but that's the problem when you have the social media we have available now and the availability of these. So one of the thoughts is do away with, there's no obligation under the statute for us to videotape the hearing. However, on the other side of the coin, we have also been accused of being very aggressive and mean at the hearings. And I think those of you that looked at the hearings see that that's really not the case. So that is helpful in terms of that issue. So I haven't decided what I really think yet. I wanted to throw that out to you. The alternative, and here's the other area there's a problem, I've had a court reporter present. And that's expensive. I understand your concern, Ms. Certain, very much so. The problem is, the first time we did not, and we had somebody from my office transcribe the hearing, so we'd have at least a written report of what happened. But we've also been accused of being partial. And, you know, we are on the side of the hearing officer, and so we thought that having a third party that came in that was, you know, is sworn as a court reporter to just take the words down exactly and is not an employee. We don't have to have that. But if we don't have the court reporter, we're going to need to keep videotaping so we have a record of exactly what occurred. So those are things that I'm still struggling with a little bit, and I wanted to throw them out for your consumption at this point. No decisions have to be made right now, but it's something that I think, and those are procedural things that we can do down the road, but I will value your input on where you think we should go with it. But if you have any questions, the policy that we've put online, the red lines are what goes out. There was also one of the gentlemen that's appeared quite frequently, Mr. Edward, has proposed his own policy, and we did tell him we would bring it to your attention. Our recommendation is that you do not want to set aside time to have hearings before you for a presentation of at least an hour. The presentations we've had have been an hour for each side. I will tell you, we have provided more than an hour for the other side because I don't ever take that long. But rather than have an argument, I have said take extra time so that everything is good. But we do not recommend what the citizen has recommended. He wants us to tell him how to write things and then he wants you all to be the only one that hear. We use the hearing officer because that's part of what the procedure is if you have a instructional book challenge. And the hearing officer then is someone that you appoint and that comes back to you and with a recommendation, and you can accept or reject it. So I would recommend we continue with the policy we have as the proposed amendments. And then we can talk about the procedural things later. I just wanted you all to be aware that there were issues there. If you have any questions, Ms. Talbot is here, who is the expert on first reading, second reading, and rulemaking, in case you have. I will tell you that we've done some preliminary calculations, and I think in terms of if I use my salary divided by the number of hours, my hourly rate is significantly different than if I was in Mr. Delaney's situation right now. And I would tell you that our costs would be significantly higher. But to date, it's cost us in time, in terms of time and expense, nearly $40,000 to handle these things. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if there's a way out of it. We currently have 3 of the hearings that the objector was not satisfied with are before the state for the magistrate appointment. I will tell you that there are 13 books objections already before the state. No magistrate has been appointed yet, and I don't know why. Our first one has been there since February. and none of the 13 are appointed. I will tell you at the state level, the only thing that the magistrate can do is determine if there's appropriate due process. The magistrate can't say, take that book off the shelf. Alachua County, you shouldn't have kept it there. So I don't know what's happening at the state level. I would not hazard a guess, but that's still out there. But if you have any questions, here we are.
Dr. Rockwell.
So my question, I think it's a good compromise to take the video but not post it. That way we can watch them. And a citizen who requests to view it can view it. I think that's a fair compromise to keep it off YouTube, because what happened with Mr. Jones was not even someone who lives in this state who decided to attack him. My question with the transcription is, do we need a human person to do the transcription? Direct transcription is one of the things that software has gotten really good at, voice to text. You can talk to your phone and it'll type up what you say. Several of the different AI machines, you can feed it a video and it will spit out a transcript. It will sometimes have minor mistakes in it if somebody does not speak clearly or if the microphone isn't picking them up well. But I imagine humans would make similar mistakes, and I wonder if that would be a way to reduce cost and partiality in that transcript production.
Thank you very much. I never thought of that. Unfortunately, after 36 years of being a trial lawyer, I automatically go to a court reporter. It was like second nature. We will look into that, because the expense of the court reporter is quite high and the cost of the transcript is high. But thank you. We will certainly look into that as a way of getting a record.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Dr. Rockwell actually said what I had, but I wanted to ask, so the video, if you don't post it and you have it and they ask for it as a public record, what?
We burn it on a CD and give it to sell it. The CD costs $3.
Just give it to them.
And we always charge them for that cost, but it's $3, you can get a copy. That way we at least have a record of where it's gone. With a public records request, we can't ask them who they are or why they want it, but at least we know when it has been requested and when it has gone out. And hopefully that would help with some of the problems we've had with some of the accusations and some of the other things that have gone on. Yeah.
And the transcription, the direct transcription, I think, is a way of reducing costs for that. And I guess why were we doing that? You say we need a record of it for
Well, if we have to go before the magistrate at the state level, yeah. I'd like a record. At least I think it's appropriate to have a record of what occurred at the hearing. They could watch it, but maybe that's just my background, Ms. Certain. I think a written record is sometimes good to have available. But we can find out the cost of doing it that way.
Mr. Delaney, you want to respond?
Well, I think it could interject some reality into what exactly occurred at the district level. There could be representations made to the magistrate that this was a kangaroo court, this wasn't a fair process, I wasn't allowed to offer witnesses, and having that transcript and record could make sure everybody's memory is accurate.
Yeah.
So since you brought up witnesses, I was okay with the strikeout, so for the changes and not bringing our employees in. So, but how does that impact? Like, how does us changing this policy put us on the back end? Does it violate them not having due process, or is it? I mean, because if Neola says we don't have to do it, or if this process will keep us in the framework of the Neola guarantee for policies, I'm with doing that, because I know we have one media specialist that was just raked over the coals about this, and that's unfair to her as an employee. But so what's your advice on that?
Right. I think that it's a new process where all the districts are still figuring it out. I don't believe that there's a requirement that you are able to call witnesses. Due process is being able to make your argument, have your day in front of the decision maker, and present the evidence that you want to. So.
All right, thank you. I can I agree with I'm satisfied with the proposed changes in that policy to update that, and I can,
And I will comment, the statute itself says that the parent or resident has the opportunity to proffer evidence.
Okay.
It doesn't say call witnesses or anything else. It just says proffer. So you,
well, we're in compliance with the statute, and that's what we want to have done, and I know we had a process, and just to follow the process, and if we do that, I think we.
But I do, Ms. Siegel, want to make sure we keep the video
okay.
because this is a very political issue. We know we did not create this as a school district. This is something that has come down from the state. And the concern is if you don't, we witness enough behavior, to me, inappropriate behavior, and I'll say that on the record, by people who've come and presented and challenging people at the dais. So I do think we need the video to protect ourselves, and I don't want to see any employee go through what at Terwilliger what happened.